dream I know deep up my feelings for you. Watch.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's news. The headlines: Atiku's press conference on Supreme Court verdict. But before I proceed with the news, welcome to Reality Letters, just your home of news and politics. If this is your first time of watching, please do us a favor to like and subscribe, and also turn the notification bell to get notified when next we drop our video, because I'm sure you don't want to miss out on our trending and latest news happening on social media. You can send in your comments and keep the conversation lively in our comment section. To all our amazing subscribers, thank you so much for staying tuned with us. All our viewers, feel relaxed, enjoy, and stay tuned. The People's Democratic Party presidential candidate in the February 25, 2023 election, Atiku Abubakar, addressed a press conference in Abuja on Monday over the Supreme Court verdict to dismiss his appeal for lacking in merit and affirm the victory of President Bola Tinubu. So guys, let's take a look at the video, and after the video, we'll comment fully.
Country Nigeria in your future. It is about the kind of society we want to live for the next generation, and what kind of example we want to set for our children and their children. It is about the reputation of Nigeria and Nigerians in the eyes of the world. We showed incontrovertible evidence that Bola Tinubu was not qualified to contest the presidential election because he forged the qualifying academic certificate which he submitted to INEC. In fact, a simple check on Tinubu's past records in his possession would have shown INEC that Tinubu broke the law and should not have been allowed to contest the election in the first place. We showed irrefutable evidence of gross irregularities, violence, and manipulations during the elections. We showed incontrovertible evidence that INEC violated the Electoral Act and deliberately sabotaged its own publicly announced processes and procedures in order to illegally declare Tinubu elected. The position of the Supreme Court, even though final, leaves so much unanswered.
In Atiku Abubakar's speech, someone asked him what he would do if he lost the election petition appeal at the Supreme Court. In his response, he said that as long as Nigeria wins, that the struggle would have been worth the while. By that, he meant that the bigger loss would not be his, but Nigerians, if the Supreme Court legitimized illegality, including forgery, identity theft, and perjury. If the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, implies by its judgment that crime is good and should be rewarded, then Nigeria has lost and the country is doomed, irrespective of who occupies the presidential seat. If the Supreme Court decides that the electoral umpire INEC can tell the public one thing and then do something else in order to reach a corrupt predetermined outcome, then there is really no hope for the country, democracy, and electoral politics. Obviously, the consequences of those decisions for the country will not end at the expiration of the current government. They will last for decades. He said that he is absolutely sure that the history will vindicate him, and we now know that what Supreme Court have decided. At this critical point in political life, he always ignored the easy but ignoble part and chose the difficult but dignified part, the path of truth, of morality, of democracy, and rule of law. He always chose freedom over servitude, and whatever the personal discomfort his choice entails. Atiku Abubakar said when he joined politics, the critical challenge was easing the military out of power so that civilian democratic governance could be restored in Nigeria. It was later became a very defining struggle, and as one of the leaders of that struggle, he was targeted for elimination. In one incident, 9 policemen guiding his home in Kaduna were murdered in an attempt to assassinate him. He was also forced into exile for 9 months. In addition, his interest in logistics company that he owned was confiscated and given to friends of the military government. As vice president in the civilian government that succeeded the military, Atiku Abubakar, again at great personal cost, chose to oppose the extension of the tenure of the government beyond the 2 4-year term enshrined in our constitution. In response to the official backlash against him, he instituted several cases in the courts, which led to several landmark decisions that helped him to deepen our democracy and rule of law. At the current historic moment, the easier option for him would have been to fold up and retreat after the banditry perpetrated by the APC and INEC. But he went to Nigeria court to seek redress. He even went to an American court to help with unraveling what our state institution charged with such responsibilities were willing or unable to do, including unraveling the qualifying academic record of the person sworn in as our president, and by implication, hopefully who he really is. He offered that evidence procured with the assistance of the American courts to our Supreme Court to help it do justice in this case. But he gave this background to underscore that what we are currently dealing with is bigger than 1 or 2 presidential elections and is certainly bigger than Atiku Abubakar. It is not about him, it's about our country, Nigeria. It is about the kind of society we want to live by the next generation and what kind of example we want to set for our children and their children. And it's also about the reputation of Nigeria and Nigerians in the eyes of the world. Atiku Abubakar showed incontrovertible evidence that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was not qualified to contest the presidential election because he forged the qualifying academic certificate which he submitted to INEC. In fact, a simple check of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu past record in its possession would have shown INEC that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu broke the law and should not have been allowed to contest the election. Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi also showed irrefutable evidence of gross irregularity, violence, and manipulation during the election. They showed a controvertible evidence that INEC violated the Electoral Act and deliberately sabotaged its own publicly announced processes and procedures in order to illegally declare President Bola Ahmed Tinubu elected. The position of the Supreme Court, even though final, leaves so much unanswered. Even the rebuke by retired Justice Musa Zatijor Mohammed is a confirmation from within the appellate court that all is not well with the Supreme Court. The court and indeed the judiciary must never lend itself to politicization as it is currently the norm within nearly every institution in Nigeria. By the way, the strong rebuke of the appellate court by the Reverend Justice, who had meritoriously served more than 4 decades, should not be swept under the carpet. Atiku Abubakar said the alarm raised by Justice Mohammed and recently former INEC chairman Prof. Sèériøùśly offered Nigeria an explanation into why the electoral and judiciary system have become the lost hope of the common man. Because now judges are no longer appointed based on merit, but are product of the interplay of politics and nepotism. The worst thing is that the appointment of the electoral officials has also been hijacked by the ruling party, as seen in the last nomination of resident electoral commissioners, where the card carrying members of the ruling party and aides to politicians in the APC are being appointed into INEC. When 2 critical constitutions like the court and the electoral commission are trapped in an evil web of political machination, it becomes next to impossible for democracy to strive. When people lose trust and confidence in election, democracy is practically on life support. So guys, let me know your take in this. Let me know your thoughts, your opinion, your contribution in the comment section. Let's keep the conversation lively in the comment section. Once again, thank you all so much for joining us on today's news. We really do appreciate. On this note, we have come to the end of today's segment. Till I come your way next. Stay safe, guys. Bye.